Outside St. James's Palace, the sentries aren't the attraction today. Attention is diverted across the way to Marlborough House Chapel, where the Hutton baby is being christened. The former Barbara Hutton and her baby are escorted by Count Lance Reventlow, her husband. And every cinema and newspaper in the world has somebody here to get pictures. Permission for the christening to be held in the Royal Chapel was granted because the Count is related to the Danish Royal House. So the £9 million baby boy of the Woolworth heiress was named at the same font as Queen Victoria. Altogether, he's a lucky baby.
All the leaves are brown. Passed along the way. Well, I got down on my knees, and I pretend to pray. You know the preacher like the cold. He knows I'm gonna stay. California, dreaming of such a winter's day.
This is the Scarab, an American car built in Culver City, California. The lines are European, the power plant Chevrolet Corvette, and you won't find it on sale at local car dealers. Lance Reventlow dreamed the car into existence as an American answer to the challenge of Ferrari, Maserati, Porsche, and Jaguar. Chuck Daigh, mechanic driver. His ideas helped make the Scarab a practical reality. In this Riverside, California meeting of 3 racing groups, Daigh and Reventlow are typical of the semi-professional sports car group. Dwayne Carter, director of competition for United States Auto Club, functions as a race observer. Ray Crawford, he's competed in almost every league. His big win, the 1954 Pan American Road Race. Bill Cheeseburg, Tucson, Arizona, joined the 100-mile-an-hour club this year at Indianapolis. And Troy Ruttman, then barely eligible to vote, won the 1952 Indiana Speed Classic. Another USAC veteran, Johnny Parsons, won the 500 in 1950. And Aston Martin, DBR1, Roy Salvadori of London, England, completes the third side of the triangle, representing the European driving fraternity. Richie Ginther, popular sports car competitor, drives a Ferrari. Phil Hill, tops in the international circuit, conquered the 24-hour Le Mans race this year. Jean Vera of Paris, France, another man whose name is mentioned wherever people gather to talk racing. Carroll Shelby, 1956 United States amateur champion, pilots a Maserati. And it just wouldn't be a race without popular and colorful race promoter J.C. Agajanian. On Saturday morning, the big rush started. Entrants and pit personnel lined up for their credentials in a spirit of organized confusion. Then it was inside to get your race program and find out what was happening. But something had already happened. Lance Reventlow, on a practice run, got into trouble with Scarab number 16. So scratch one car for the team. This left two Scarabs. Number 5 with Chuck Daigh at the wheel. And now, Reventlow in number 3 taking over from Bruce Kessler. The signal to start your engines ushers in a magic moment on any track. Phil Hill in his red Ferrari sits in the middle of the front row. On his right, Lance Reventlow in Scarab 3. On the other side, Chuck Daigh in Scarab 5. Poised and ready for whatever the next 200 miles will bring, other contenders rev their engines eager to be on their way. Dan Gurney right behind Reventlow. And in the third row, Roy Salvadori and Richie Ginter sit side by side. This is the beginning of a journey which ends where it started, but only after one man with Lady Luck riding on his shoulder has proved that he could drive 200 miles at high speed, faster and safer than his contemporaries. Past turn 1 into turn 2. John von Neumann in a Ferrari jockeying for position hits Lance Reventlow from the rear, then goes out of control, plunging off the course into a field. As Reventlow, with rear-end damage, which was to cause him trouble later on in the race, continues into the S curves. At turn 6, Chuck Daigh has taken the lead with Phil Hill right behind him. So started a hot 24-lap battle between these men and cars, and a chance for the spectators to watch two experts at work fighting out for the first position. Through turn 7, the field is still jockeying for driving room. But Daigh and Hill, now ahead of the rest, go through turns 7 and 8 and head for the back straightaway with the others trailing behind. Reaching the end of the straight, Phil Hill moves into the lead as they follow the sweeping banked curve on turn 9. And Daigh, for the moment, is riding along in the slipstream provided by Hill's Ferrari. At the start-finish line, the officials and pit crews got their first look at the race progress as Hill and Daigh flashed by on their way into the second lap. The old adage of where there's smoke, there's fire didn't prove out in this case. Oil from a leaking line dropped into a very hot exhaust system, and the resultant smoke was quite spectacular. At turn 6, it's Hill, still in front by 1 car length. But the kinks of the course were already starting to cause trouble for some. Through 7, no change in position for the leaders. Lance Reventlow, still pushing his damaged Scarab, follows with Dan Gurney just behind him. On the next time around, Daigh and Hill are driving almost side by side, fighting it out on the curves and straightaways. Number 135, Al Markelson, should have been a road builder. For before the race was over, he and several others had created a new path on the outside of turn 8. Bill Pollock in the Dean Van Line's Lister Corvette spins out, and making a nice recovery, got started again. Then Phil Hill had the lead through turn 9. And flashing through the start-finish line, the stopwatches gave him only a split-second lead as Daigh hung on like he was glued in position. Now the situation has changed again. Daigh in front with Hill, still fighting it out through the S-curves and up the hill into turn 6. At this point, both leaders are getting into some traffic, having lapped some of the slower entries. Accidents are seldom, if ever, funny, but this one had its humorous points. Johnny Parsons piled the Chuck Porter Special into the fence on turn 6 and climbed nonchalantly out to survey the damage. Worried officials told him, "Johnny, you can't leave it there." "Well, gentlemen," he said, "just what do you propose that I do about it?" After sitting for a few minutes at the side of this busy thoroughfare, Johnny got the car started again and headed down the hill for the pit area. His troubles were typical of most of the Indianapolis drivers, as they were forced out of the race one by one through various mishaps. Troy Ruttman out of the race, watched from the start-finish line. Bill Cheeseburg in a Curtis Buick is another example. Slowing down but not giving up, he was finally forced to call it a day on the short straight going into turn 7 when the car quit running. But he was to have lots of company, for 24 out of 42 starters were forced out before the finish of the race. Back at start-finish, Phil Hill is running in first place as the seesaw battle for the lead continued. A slight wind and drifting sand at different points on the course increased the hazards as skids and spinouts became more frequent. Phil Hill, coming into turn 6, pushed even harder to increase his slight lead. Then Clem Proctor in a Chevy Special missed the road completely and wound up way out in the boondocks. Al Markelson continues his off-the-course road building project in turn 8. But he wasn't the only one with problems on this turn. A tricky one with a progressively sharper curve right at the beginning of the back straightaway. And again on turn 8, the same car, one lap later. Then began what was later described as an unfortunate incident. Lance Reventlow, with a damaged rear end on Scarab 3, sustained when he was hit by von Neumann in the first lap, has been black flagged off the track because of a leak in his fuel tank. Making emergency repairs, he indicated that the car was all ready to go. But pit officials put thumbs down, claiming that the emergency repairs were not adequate. To say that Lance disagreed would be stating the situation mildly, and he started for the timing stand to state his case to the officials. A hot exchange of opinions took place, with no one conceding a point. The ruling stood, and Reventlow was still out of the race. While some observers might regard the whole matter as a tempest in a teapot, it should be remembered that these men who race are deeply dedicated to this sport and regard everything about it with the utmost sincerity. Now the hope of the Scarab team rested on Chuck Daigh, and for them, things were looking better all the time. Phil Hill has lost several laps through car troubles. A gas line too close to the exhaust manifold has brought about a vapor lock condition. And although he returns gamely to the race, Phil is so far behind that he cannot hope to catch his rapid rival Chuck Daigh. Jean Barra in a Porsche has been driving a brilliant race, leading in the under 2,000cc class. Moving down to turn 9, the action came thick and fast as car after car spun out. Floyd Bird of Inglewood spun and came to a dead stop. Then Bill Pollock in the Dean Van Line Special went into a long, spectacular skid, which left him backwards. He made a nice recovery by driving into the infield and back in the race. Max Walchowski in the Motor Trend Special also lost the groove here, but dodging the oncoming traffic, got turned around and continued on in the race. Back on turn 6, Daigh still continues his lead, putting his Scarab into the turns a little easier than he had done when Phil Hill was breathing down his neck. And Hill, many laps behind, is still gamely fighting to keep his Ferrari out of the pit. The end of the race approaches, and for Chuck Daigh and his crew come the worry of fuel consumption. Do they have enough in the tank to finish the race? Were their pre-race calculations correct? Can Daigh get over the finish line without a pit stop? Or worse yet, will he run out of fuel in some remote part of the course just a few laps from victory? These are the worries which beset those who race, as they watch and pray that nothing will happen in these last few moments to cancel out a brilliant job of driving. While 70,000 people held their breath, Daigh went streaking down the back straightaway, then through turn 9 into the approach to the finish line. Bearing down on the checkered flag, victory becomes a certainty, and Chuck Daigh makes it, winning the first United States Grand Prix. Chuck Daigh, the most popular man at the Riverside International Raceway. The late Clay Smith would have certainly liked to have seen this, for it was he who gave Chuck his early training in mechanics and the intricacies of racing. Congratulations from wife Doris and his two lovely children, Denise and Chucky. Daigh, deaf as a post for motor noise, gets the well wishes of Dwayne Carter and Luigi Lazowski of USAC and Paul Schisler from the Los Angeles Times-Mirror Corporation. Dan Gurney of Riverside was second, while Jean Barra won in the under 2,000 class. Now the traffic jam starts again, as 70,000 hot, tired, and happy fans start for home, with memories of a strongly contested, brilliantly driven race, the United States Grand Prix.
Who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. Hey there, hi there, ho there, you're as welcome as can be. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse, forever let us hold our banner high, 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 high. Come along and sing the song and join the jamboree. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. Mickey Mouse Club, Mickey Mouse Club. We'll have fun, we'll meet new faces. We'll do things and we'll go places. All around the world we're marching. That's made for you and me. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, you're as welcome as can be.
M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse, forever let us hold our banner high, 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 high. Come along and sing the song and join the jamboree. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E.
Well, I saw the thing coming out of the sky. It had a one long horn and one big eye. I commenced to shaking and I said, ooh-wee. It looks like a purple people eater to me. It was a one-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater.
One-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater.
A one-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater sure looks strange to me.
One-eyed.
Well, he came down to earth and he lit in a tree. I said, Mr. Purple People Eater, don't eat me. I heard him say in a voice so gruff,
I wouldn't eat you 'cause you're so tough.
it was a one-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater.
One-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater.
One-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater sure looks strange to me.
One-horn.
I said, Mr. Purple People Eater, what's your line? He said, eating purple people and it sure is fine. But that's not the reason that I came to land.
I want to get a job in a rock and roll band.
Well, bless my soul, rock and roll flying purple.
bayerische Polka macht alle Herzen jung. Und für dein Spusi, für deine Susi, ist es die Musi, drum bittst du sie. Ja, die bayerische Polka, tanz mit mir die ganze Nacht, weil die bayerische Polka aus zwei Herzen eines macht. Du, holleri, aha, holleri, du, holleri, aha, holleri, aha. Wenn am Samstag großer Ball ist, Trumbern wird zum golden Hirsch, gehen die Bundes überall, ist noch den Dirndl auf die Birsch, und erst schauen sie ein bisschen steppert, halten sich am Auskrug ein, aber wann die Musik scheppert, haben sie Schneid und Toppen's klein. Ja, die bayerische Polka, voll Gemütlichkeit und Schwung. Ja, die bayerische Polka macht alle Herzen jung. Und für dein Spusi, für deine Susi, ist es die Musi, drum bittst du sie. Ja, die bayerische Polka, tanz mit mir die ganze Nacht, weil die bayerische Polka aus zwei Herzen eines macht. Du, holleri, aha, holleri, du, holleri, aha, holleri, aha, du, holleri, aha, holleri, ja, die bayerische Polka, voll Gemütlichkeit und
This is sports car road racing at its best. A demanding sport of trial and tribulations, heartbreak and elation, victory and defeat. Its ingredients are hard work and dedicated men working together as a team. There are no heroes, no prima donnas. Racing an automobile is a dangerous business. The drivers' very lives depend upon the highly skilled and trained crews. One man gets the checkered flag, but many share the victory. Sports cars like prize fighters compete in classes formed by engine size, and the cars are either production, generally those that might be driven to market on Saturday and raced on Sunday, or modified, machines built especially for competition. The Meister Browsers race in the modified big car or heavyweight division. They're gleaming blue speedsters with more than 400 horsepower, hurtling them at speeds of over 150 miles an hour, are familiar to thousands of race fans at road tracks all over the nation. If you want to risk the urge, to convert the family buggy to a weekend racing machine? Stay with us as we follow the men who race and maintain the Meister-Browser racing cars. The men who form one of America's greatest sports car teams, a team pledged to racing American-built automobiles, ever ready to meet the challenge of the engineering genius and experience of factory-supported Europeans. On race day, vital last-minute preparations must be made. Like the driver, the crew's enemy is time, even though months of building, testing, rebuilding, and retesting sometimes precedes this moment when the cars are called to the starting grid. The amount of gasoline taken on board is calculated to the fraction of a gallon, no more than absolutely necessary for the distance. The rules demand fuel of the same specifications offered at your neighborhood filling station. Why does a man race? Why do you play golf or tennis or ski, or you name it? It is man's heritage to compete, to excel. Sports car drivers strive to win, but never at the expense of sacrificing the machine. Drivers acknowledge a great debt to the cars, the crew, and the builders. Among America's greatest are Harry Hoyer, steadily improving in national ranking, captain of the Meister-Brousers. Augie Pabst, Hoyer's teammate, perhaps one of the best drivers to come along in years. Dr. Dick Thompson, a veteran of both American and European road racing. Dave Cozy, Roger Penske, Ernie Erickson, Tossie Alex, Bob Holbert. They and many more with the same burning desire to win are competing today. For this is a national championship event at Meadowdale Raceway near Chicago. Meadowdale's 3 1/4 miles of tortuous turns and lightning-fast straights. Its celebrated Monza wall allow very little margin for error. It calls for the highest degree of cooperation between man and machine.
All right, all set for the feature event. In just a moment now, starter Jesse Coleman will move across the track, take up his position at the box, and ready to drop the green flag that gets the race officially underway. What a drag this is going to be with Dr. Dick Thompson, the famous Stingray, right down on the line. Augie Pabst in the famous Meister-Browser. And in that second row, Harry Hoyer in the Meister-Browser. All right. Starter Jesse Coleman asking for the signal from the drivers if they're all ready. And there they go. As they move off of the line, that is Augie Pabst moving out like a bomb as they go down that long straightaway where they generate tremendous speed. Now, just a moment now, heading around into the turn, heading in through the S's. It is still out in front, one Augie Pabst, but coming up very fast, Dr. Dick Thompson. Now coming up on the challenging Monza wall. Some of the cars have dropped back a bit in the grouping as they come around for the completion of lap number 1. It's still Augie Pabst by a narrow margin over Dr. Dick Thompson. Harry Hoyer moving up very, very fast, as is Bob Holbert. You can see the tremendous lead that the leaders have already established on lap number 1. There is Dick Thompson out in front and definitely pulling away from the Meister-Browser with Augie Pabst trying to challenge again, but you can see the superior acceleration of that number 11 is carrying him right out in front. The rest of the field dropping back, losing ground as the leaders definitely open up the gap. Now up on the Monza wall, you can see the bit of the movement of the car as it gets over that rough surface. Dick Thompson really pushing down on that throttle, and Augie Pabst fighting desperately to close the gap, to move up into a fighting challenge once again. Roger Penske in the famous Porsche RSK number 6 moving up. Here's Harry Hoyer in the second of the Meister-Brousers. Car number 2 moving down that straightaway. These boys are literally driving the wheels off their cars, and they fight for the number 1 spot now, held by Dr. Dick Thompson at number 11, the Stingray. Right behind him is Augie Pabst in the first of the Meister-Brousers, car number 1. Down that long straightaway, down the hill. Heading uphill now as they come into the very tight first turn, the very acute right-hand turn. There is Dave Cozy, the Maserati, number 24, one of the very fast cars in this event. Thompson still holds that slight lead, but one Augie Pabst in number 1, moving up on him. Here again is Ernie Erickson, number 27, the Porsche RSK, trying to move up. Now coming out into the S's once again. Number 11, Dick Thompson out in front, right behind him, Augie Pabst, the Meister-Browser number 1. Moving through the S's, he's moving, trying to challenge for the inside. Uh-oh, we get a report from the far side. There was a bit of a shunt that time as Paps touched the back end of Thompson's Stingray. There was a little bit of damage done to one of the fenders on the Meister Browser. There goes Roger Penske in the number 6. Over still putting the pressure on number 2, Meister Browser. Uh-oh, we get a report from around the track that Augie Paps has moved up into the number 1 spot, replacing number 11, Dick Thompson. He seems to be in a bit of difficulty. Our reports from around the track is that he is slowing up very noticeably. Billy Reeskoff and another giant killer, car number 77, the Porsche, doing a tremendous job here today. And here he comes. He's pulling into the pits. Dr. Dick Thompson into the pits, and that moves Roger Penske, the little giant killer, the Porsche, up into position number 2 in car number 6. And here is Harry Heir. Heir in trouble. They're checking the front end, the right front end of that car. Another car immediately alongside of him, forcing him into the wall. And that is the reason for the mandatory stop to check and see that everything is functioning properly. Dr. Dick Thompson. We understand he has been running into heating problems. Evidently, it's a collapsed heating system carryover from the bit of trouble that he experienced yesterday during the practice run. All right, here's our leader, Augie Paps in the number 1, and he is really stretching that lead. And here comes the second place, Roger Penske, moving up in that number 6. He has really done a tremendous job in that Porsche here today. Paps now doing a beautiful job. Notice the manner in which he sits back behind that wheel, very relaxed and sliding through the turn. But he has to keep that one eye glued to that rear view mirror to watch Penske, who is moving up. And Heir again, back onto the track, is really fighting, trying to regain some of the positions that he lost. He is running fourth at the present time. But here's our current leader, Augie Paps, a young man hailing from Milwaukee, who many predict will, in the very near future, emerge with a World Championship in foreign car racing. Penske still stabbing that throttle, literally hurling the car around through the turn and down those long straightaways, trying desperately to move up. Here is the third position, number 14, Bob Holbert, in another Porsche. And here is Dave Causey in the Maserati number 24. Always a definite threat. Don't discard this boy. Tossie Alex in the Jaguar number 9. Tossie back in the field at the present time. Heir coming down the straightaway, coming up to the very tight right-hand turn. He, too, is driving tremendously hard. And there's the checker flag as Augie Paps comes down that straightaway as the winner.
Man, look at that fender. Despite a high-speed brush that could have been fatal and a smack into the wall that necessitated a pit stop, the Meister Browser team chalks up a first and a fourth in the fastest company in national sports car race circles. And now it's back to the never-ending striving for mechanical perfection. The Meister Browser team maintains its own shop, equipped with precision tools and machines, with facilities to rebuild, if necessary, a complete car. After each race, the cars are disassembled. Every part is carefully checked and tested. No guesswork. The slightest variation from rigid specifications calls for replacement of the part. Many times lessons learned in the previous race are invaluable in preparing for the next. It is here that many a race is won. Just as the fighter trains for the particular style of his opponent, a race car is set up for a specific course, with such factors as track surface, number of turns, lengths of straightaways, and even elevation and climate taken into consideration. Like the engine, suspension, and steering, the body of a sports car calls for the utmost in skill and craftsmanship. As true champions, the Meister Browsers must defend their laurels at many different tracks during the season. The annual Labor Day Classic at beautiful Continental Divide Raceway, located in the foothills of Pikes Peak, presents a new challenge. The Diesel Duster is more than just a van to transport race cars. It is a complete shop on wheels, powered throughout by a permanently mounted Onan 1500-watt electric generator. This plant supplies all the power needed for lights, air compressor, battery charger, welding equipment, and the loading winch. Continental Divide is truly a complete racing plant with a half-mile all-purpose oval, regulation paved drag strip, and a 2.5-mile road race circuit. Spectators, literally sitting on the side of a mountain, enjoy an unobstructed view of the entire course and see every thrilling moment of the race. Practice laps have indicated some necessary changes in spark plugs and jets. The crew springs into action, each man carrying out his assigned responsibility. The pit is a beehive of activity as again the race against time begins. Tires are measured for tread wear, proper pressure. Film crews mount an electrically driven sound camera on the Meister Browser to record for the first time a driver's eye view of an actual race. This synchronous camera will reproduce an exact lap-for-lap record. It is not speeded up to create an illusion. The resulting scenes are authentic. The officials call the cars to the starting grid. The Meister Browser team plans strategy for this is to be a challenge race, with Bob Carnes in his new Bocar Stiletto out to beat Harry Hoyer in the Meister Browser Scarab, holder of the Continental Divide track record. The fans are understandably hoping that Carnes, a Denverite, can unseat the champion. Paul and Adrian Wigton, husband and wife team, have entered a Silverstone Jaguar. Chuck Frederick, Golden Colorado ace, will drive an Allard Chevrolet. Hap Sharp, always a tough competitor, and his buddy Jim Hall have come up from Midland, Texas, with a Cooper Monaco tuned to perfection. Carnes and his crew have the Bocar Stiletto literally leaping. Its tremendous acceleration during practice laps brought gasps from the fans. The excitement carries even to the experienced occupants of the press box. And it seems that wherever there is an important race, there you will find a guy who has been calling these contests for more than 30 years. Former Indianapolis driver, America's foremost race announcer, Ed 20 Grand Steinbach.
Thank you, Alex. And now moving up onto the track in the Corvette, Sid Langston, the owner of the Continental Divide Raceways, has received the signal from the starter to move the cars up onto the starting positions on the grid. And what a tremendous race this should prove to be. Car number 65, driven by Bob Carnes of Denver, the Bocar Stiletto, is of course the favorite of the fans gathered here today. But most certainly, a thorn in the side of all drivers will be car number 62, the Meister Browser, driven by Harry Hoyer. All right, they're up on the grid. The starter asking for the show of hands, which means that they are all ready to get underway from the top of that green flag. And there they go. Wow, look at that Bocar Stiletto accelerate. Without a doubt, one of the fastest accelerating cars in the world today. He is moving like a bomb. Heading down into turn number 1. Now moving up for turn number 2. Hoyer really putting the pressure on. That was mighty close. Hoyer tried to move through on the inside, but he couldn't take it away from the tremendous acceleration of that Bocar. But now, look at these two leaders pulling away from the rest of the field. What a drive. There's the Bocar still out in front. Carnes in the 65. Hoyer immediately behind him in number 62, Meister Browser. Again, putting that pressure on. About a yard separating. Hoyer sitting back, well relaxed, and still driving with a heavy, heavy foot on that throttle. And here he comes. Harry Hoyer takes it over now. Hoyer out in front, literally out-braking and out-driving, going into the turn. Moving out. Now you can see the lead that he has established over the Bocar at this point. that car through the far side on the other turn. Now, the lead well established. Hoyer cuts down to the inside. Carnes unable to follow the line that is taken by the flying leader at this point. Hoyer still holding that commanding lead. Carnes in the 65. Driving very hard, but unable to do a thing about it as Hoyer continues to pull out the stops and moving out to a commanding, a very definite lead. The very beautiful Bocar Stiletto as he moves down the stretch, still trying to take up on the number 62, the leading car, but unable to do so at this point. And now coming up for the flag. Here he's coming down that straightaway, and he is really moving, and there's the flag. Harry Hoyer, the winner of a tremendous duel of speed here at Continental Divide today.
First in class and first overall. Again, Harry Hoyer and the Meister Browser team have met the challenge. But the roar of the crowd is unheard, for his ears are still ringing as he relives in his mind. And we take you back for the unsurpassed thrill of driving a champion.
Many men shared my ride today. The engineers, designers, the craftsmen who built this car, the mechanics and the pit crew, especially the pit crew, whose skill made this victory possible. This film is dedicated to one of them, whose invaluable contributions to auto racing, and particularly to the Meisterbrowser racing team, will never be forgotten, the late Red Byron.